Deceitful Advertising by Ryan O'Neill. You may not realize it, but advertisements are everywhere. The average person sees 3,000 advertisements a day. Most, you will never even realize that they are an advertisement. From billboards, Facebook ads, commercials, to free samples, these are all considered advertising. With this wide range of advertising, how do you know which is true and which is false? How do these companies get away with false advertising? And what can be done about these deceitful advertisements? According to author April Duncan, deceitful advertising is defined as a representation, omission, or practice that is likely to mislead the consumer. Misleading the consumer is a broad statement that can lead into many different avenues of deception. Are all deceptive advertisements intentional in the fact that the seller wants to harm or cheat the buyer? Because several companies are using deceptive advertising to hide negative aspects of their products, services, or processes, consumers should conduct thorough research before the final purchase of a product or service to prevent harmful or disappointment, and if deceived, turn it into the FTC. Business Insider author Helmbrim writes an article discussing 18 false advertising scandals. Discussed in this article, the brand Red Bull was sued by a consumer due to the fact that after consecutive months of drinking the product, the consumer never developed wings. This example is one of the few deceptive advertisements that can lean towards sympathy for the seller, especially after noting that Red Bull settled for $45 million and did not intentionally promote deceptive information. Advertisements are meant to catch your attention, therefore coming up with a catchy slogan or mascot are typical. In none of their advertisements does Red Bull state that by drinking this product you will grow wings. The different views of an advertisement or deceptive advertising is up for interpretation and dependent upon the customer. Weight loss products are one of the most well-known and common deceitful advertisements around. Advertisements such as lose 30 pounds without dieting or eat what you want and still lose weight are classic deceitful advertisements that still are purchased by consumers knowing it's not 100% truthful. We all know that weight loss is not as simple as these deceitful advertisements make it out to be. It is much more simple to purchase the product that claims you will lose weight without any effort than to actually eat right and exercise. In 2003, the Federal Trade Commission set up a red flag initiative to watch for weight loss advertisements. The FTC set a list of key words to look out for in an attempt to reduce the number of deceitful advertisements within the weight loss category. But some companies figured out how to advertise without using these key words and were able to skirt around the watch list while still deceiving the consumer. Author Avery, whom had researched over 26 publications that included weight loss advertisements, noted that the FTC dropped many words from the watch list that had not been used in over 8 years. That leads us into a research project conducted by Latour and Latour in 2009 on how mood can change the way deceptive advertising is viewed and perceived. The results of the research shows that a consumer in a positive mood is able to catch deceitful advertisements more easily than those in a poor or negative mood. What becomes interesting is that in some cases, even though the positive mood consumer found the ad deceitful, they still remain positive towards the seller. One would imagine that once a deceitful advertisement is found, the consumer would feel negative towards the seller. However, this remains unproved. Some companies use deceptive advertising to get an unfair advantage over competitors or trick their customers. This causes the government to intervene to protect its people from these unethical companies. But in some cases, our own government, sent to protect us, use false or misleading advertisements itself, issuing bogus information on their websites or misleading press releases. An additional way of deceitful advertising is to cover up with humor. Researchers Shabar and Waits conducted a study on 175 different humorous advertisements to see if it had any effect on how the consumer perceives the product. It is shown overwhelmingly at a 73% rate that humor gives the consumer a false sense of well-being, therefore potentially has tricked the consumer into purchasing the product. Deceptive advertising can also be described as misleading the consumer. Using hidden fees, bait and switch, misleading claims, or misleading photography are great examples of how companies can and will do this. Examples of hidden fees include shipping costs or processing fees. Bait and switch could be a tricky area. Car dealers advertise super low prices but have very limited amounts of cars at that price. Is it wrong to advertise with a low stock? McDonald's ads show juicy burgers with perfectly placed slices of cheese, just the right amount of ketchup, and fluffy buns. But what you get is a week-old burger with half a slice of cheese, way too much ketchup, and a squished bun. Granted, each McDonald's is different, but the chance of getting that perfect burger is slim. With these thousands of ads flying at us every day, we are left with more questions than answers. Which companies are trustworthy? Which products will do the job right? Am I getting the most bang for my buck? With tools like Facebook at our fingertips, we can get opinions from our friends and family members that may have used the companies in question. But at the same time, we must be wary of Facebook or other social media sites due to potential deception that can occur. In conclusion, Economics 101 teaches us that there is no such thing as a free lunch. Businesses that want to remain profitable do not give things away without getting something in return. Like Facebook, which does not charge its regular users, they still get something in return for their services. Anytime you like or search for a product, they use that information for marketing purposes. They can then sell that information to other companies who uses it for better advertising towards you and I. Research is the key to avoiding disappointment related to false advertising. It is important that you research credible sites and be careful with social media.